Hi, welcome to Behind the Scenes with Axiom Medical. I'm your host, Jason McWitty. If this is the first time joining us, we are a bi-weekly series where we go behind the scenes here at Axiom Medical and talk to the people that make the company tick. Over the past year and a bit, we've gone all over the place. We've talked to executives, we've talked to new people, we've talked to people that have been around for a long time. And today we're going to combo it up. We're going to go with an executive and someone who's been with the company for a long time. Please welcome Jordan Wheeler. Jordan, how
Good
are you?
afternoon. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I see you've got the Dodgers Stadium behind you. Very good. I guess it's for people that don't know who you are. Introduce yourself.
Um, Obviously, I'm Jordan, COO of Axiom Medical. I've been with Axiom for probably, I think this is my 17th year. And I'm over all of operations and service delivery. So anything that touches a client, any service that gets delivered, that is my area of expertise.
And judging by your background, you're also from California. I already know that, but the people out there probably don't know that.
Yes, I was grew up in Long Beach, California, so just south of LA. Yes, I'm a big Dodgers fan. You don't get to choose where you were born. So I grew up in the 80s during some of the great Dodger teams and am very passionate about all sports, but playoff baseball is one of my favorite times of year.
I would have to agree. As a Blue Jays fan, I'm a little upset at the way our team got beat out there in two games in our home stadium. But we'll move on. I live in Houston, so now I cheer for my second favorite team, which is Houston Astros. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, Jordan. I think they won the World Series one year.
Well, I was going to say, unfortunately, the Mariners know exactly how your team feels because that game yesterday was ridiculous. But in true playoff Astros fashion, I was not surprised.
No, and I swear I could hear that Jordan Alvarez home run from my house 3 miles away from the stadium. So let's talk about who you are, how you came to be with Axiom. You've been with the company 17 years. You've obviously done a lot of different things. When I started the company 5 years ago, you were IT. So walk us through, from you the first day, what you were doing and how it's led up to being chief operating officer.
So I came in as the single IT person for Axiom. We were a small shop at that time, uh, probably no more than 15 or 20 people in the whole company. So really, I was all things IT, help desk support, all of those things. And then grew with the company as my skill set and my team grew. In 2015, I believe, I was promoted to the chief information officer of Axiom, and from there, helped kind of build up the IT, much of the IT organization you guys see, or at least in some form. And then I had an opportunity to move over to operations, so I took that opportunity and decided to take on a much larger and more complex team, and that was in 2017. So I've been over operations since 2017, and fortunately had a good friend by the name of Jason Miner who was working for me in a consulting basis. So oftentimes when an executive moves out of a role, the hard part is who fills that other role. We had a great, someone who'd been a CIO in a previous life, already there helping us consult on some dev projects or development projects. So it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I think Jason started around the same time as me in a full time capacity as well, and he's been great as our chief operations officer. And obviously, you moved on to chief information officer, and you moved on to operations. This time 3 years ago, 2019, everything was going great. Operations, you pretty much, you kind of knew what was coming, and then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and that presented, I think, for any department in the company, probably the greatest challenge. And I was wondering if you could walk through us, how that affected you and your department, because you guys ballooned, and then we lost some people, and ballooned, and then we lost some people. So I was wondering if you could walk us through some of the challenges that you went through.
To call it a roller coaster ride would be taking it very lightly. Um, So, we as Axiom are, historically a case management company. And that's something we've done very well for a very long time. What became readily apparent is that our clients and more in the industry or labor organizations had a need that was presented by the pandemic that had manifested. So we pivoted very quickly and started offering, COVID related case management and also for a time, on site testing and safety services. Um, One of them was a more measured, albeit very quick turn up with the case management services. I think Mark and the rest of the executive team had a meeting, and I was given about 48 hours to stand up the service. Um, and then from an on-site perspective, we had some relationships that took us into the media and production space and gave us some opportunities to do something not outside of what we had done before, but again, addressing the needs of some customers and honestly a customer base that we had never really dealt with before. Um, so the company did grow in size. We went from, I want to say 125 people to, coming out of last year, I think we were almost at 600 people. So to call it hyper growth is not the right word for it. But we were able to address a lot of needs and again grow the team. And although we've had to shrink the team since, we still have a lot of great people that were able to come on and help us through that time. But lots of innovation, lots of great teamwork. Got to meet lots of great people. So it was a very stressful, but it was a good time for Axiom.
Yeah, the summer of 2020, when we added the media aspect of it with TV and film, really kind of pushed a lot of us in directions we had never really been before. Especially myself and the graphics team, which was Dom Thau at the time. We were designing and creating so many different things that we had no idea that we would be creating at the start of the year. Trailers, stand-up iPad stations, that kind of stuff that we needed in order to help our clients be successful. And one of the things I saw that was just a great thing to see was last year in the spring, Autumn Brennan, our communications director, and I went out to California and filmed some video, talked with a lot of people in operations out there in Burbank and the LA area, but also talked to some of the productions and the production people that were setting up all of these things. And everyone just had great things to say about every single person that was in every role that we went to, whether it was white glove testing for famous people at their homes, or doing the Oscars party at the Roosevelt Hotel. Everyone that was representing Axiom Medical was treated very nicely, and everyone had a good rapport. And I think that starts from the top down. Hiring the right people, setting the right mood. So thank you for that, and thank you to your team for that.
Yeah, it was a very exciting time, stepping into industries and helping out people that we hadn't otherwise had a chance to do is always something that's fun. In the end, sadly we had to move away from that business, but it was one of those things where I think, Axiom was kind of becoming the Cheesecake Factory menu. And we needed to get back to, not that Cheesecake Factory is not a wonderful place to eat. I love cheesecake, but our core business is case management, and we kind of knew that going forward that was going to need to be the core of what led us to be as successful. Maybe not at the same rate in the same short amount of time, although that was great. But kind of a steady growth pushing into the future is really what we're looking for.
Yeah, we did add a lot of out of the Axiom box services that we didn't really have before. And I won't name any clients, but there were clients that would come into the LA harbor or even San Francisco, and we would have to get a boat to go out to that boat to test people to make sure everyone was okay. And that was definitely something that we hadn't done in previous years.
Unique experiences across the board. Like I said, I found myself in, when you're helping out, and I was fortunate enough to help out, as you said, that team was fantastic. And in a perfect world, we would have been able to keep everyone and move them into other roles. But at the same time, I have no doubt that those very talented people are crushing it wherever they are. So shout out to the on-site team, those that are here, and those that have moved on. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, 100% for sure. So let's talk about, what does the future hold for Jordan? What are you looking forward to? Professionally or personally? What do you have on the docket? I know that you and Darren, the kids, tend to travel, do a lot of traveling out to California. You've driven out there a couple of times during COVID. What does the future hold?
So personally, right now we're in the middle of soccer season, and I'm coaching both of my daughter's teams. So that takes up a big part of my weekends, but also something I look forward to. Um, Hunting season is coming. Yes, I was born and raised in California, but I am an avid hunter, so I'm looking forward to that part of the year and also the fall weather. And then as far as Axiom, the executive team is really planning for what 2023 looks like, and trying to figure out, what we need to get back to, the type of growth that we had before COVID. And, focus on our core services like incident case management, and also some of our newer services that are, from the COVID area, but have proven to be very successful in our, CICM or contagious illness case management products. So, we're excited, and, we've also got a brand new product, Tempo Live, which is, behavioral health support product. And, with those three things, we're trying to focus on how we can, leverage those services to get back to growth.
That's great. You talked about Tempo Live, and for those that aren't familiar with it, it is a mental behavioral health services that we offer to our clients. And it's, we've learned, I think, as the world has learned, that over the past couple of years, due to the worldwide pandemic, taking care of your mental health is a really important thing. I know one of the aspects that you do in your life, besides coaching soccer, is you avidly work out, and you generally are working out during this time. So we haven't been able to get you, but you worked out earlier today, so we could talk to you. And I was wondering if you could talk about, what it is about exercise that you find enjoyable.
Being an executive, is inherently a stressful job. There's lots of responsibility and lots of other things, and I'm a true believer in balance. And a big part of me is I've always been involved with sports of some kind since a very young age, oftentimes multiple sports. And I think it's one of the things that's helped me, cope with the ups and downs and the twists and turns of life. And I think from a mental health aspect, it's one of the reasons why, for lack of a better word, I've stayed sane all these years, through all the crazy times and all the ups and downs in Axiom, and like anyone has in their personal life, it helps center me. I love to do it in the middle of the day, because it's a nice break to kind of reset the day, especially if you had kind of a hard morning. And I've become passionate about lifting. I'm looking in the future to probably try and compete in powerlifting, just as, in my older age, I find that setting goals, helps give me something else to look forward to and something else to drive on, just to be, the best version of myself I can be every day.
Words to live by. I'm going to go to a comment here from Christy Howard. It says, I love working with Jordan. He's always very calm way of explaining things to me when I don't know or understand. Yeah, you do have a very even keel to you. Your demeanor and tone are always the same in all of the meetings. And that has a calming effect on people.
I try, and well, I save my true passion for our executive team meetings, because when you said that, I'm sure every executive, that is probably watching this is having a good chuckle. I do have a passionate side, but one of the things that I believe in, and I think I've tried to instill in my leaders, is you got to have a good poker face, right? reacting too much or too little, it's not a bad thing. Like everyone has emotions. We all need to learn how to deal with our emotions. But at the same time, if you can kind of go into every situation with an open mind and understand that in the end, this is a job. I have my health, I have my family, I have a life, and I appreciate that life. And yes, do I want to come and work hard for Axiom? But in the end, some of this stuff is not as important and not worth getting all twisted out of shape about.
For sure. And we filmed a bunch of stuff with some of our executives last year, some internal videos that we've shared around with people. And each executive we asked, if you were stuck on a deserted island, who would you want to be stuck with? And the overwhelming answer was you, because of your hunting experience, your armed services experience. It's probably your calm demeanor. So
yeah, I figured it was my good looks, but we'll go with those.
I mean, that's a given. It's already said. That's the quiet part. You don't have to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Lacey says, I appreciate that way, Jordan. Appreciate the way, Jordan.
Possible incomplete sentence.
Possible incomplete sentence. Yeah. Lacey, if you want to fill in the rest for us, that'd be great. So you do lifting. I mentioned you were in the armed services. Is that something you want to talk about? Like what, how long you were in there, what you gained, what knowledge you gained from that?
I went into the military at the ripe old age of 19, a very clueless young man who had no direction in life, and came out an adult who knew how to do adulting, for lack of a better phrase. The Army was 4.5 years of my life that I think I owe much of my success as a human being, not just at Axiom and in my personal life, just because it helped me figure out how to set goals and become a better leader, and how to work on a team that's driving towards common goals, and also how to be responsible. So those were all things that I think many people coming out of high school are looking for a little bit of direction and trying to figure that out. And it's something that I didn't know I needed, but I absolutely did. And I came out the other side a better person. So I owe a lot to the military. I was in the Army for 4.5 years, jumped out of perfectly good airplanes for a portion of it. They told me you're going to get paid extra to jump out of a plane with a parachute. I'm like, yeah, I could use the money. So let's do it.
That's great. Having jumped out of two perfectly good planes, I don't know if I would do it the third time. The first time I was the first one on, which meant I was the last one off, and I went with a whole bunch of friends. So I had to watch everyone that I knew jump out of the plane before I did. And so the second time I said, you know what, I'm going to be the last one on, so I'll be the first one off. And if you've ever gone parachuting, anyone out there skydiving, they generally have like a clear plastic door. So you just sit there in front of that clear plastic door and just watch the earth disappear for whatever it is, 14,000 feet or 15,000 feet. So I don't know, maybe I need to do it one more time to get rid of that fear, but there's nothing in the world quite like that sensation of just free falling.
Yeah. Two funny stories from my airborne experience. First funny story was that story that you just explained. My second jump in training, I was first out the door. So we're jumping out of a C-130. There is 32 people on each side of this. So basically 64 people jumping out of this plane as close to simultaneously as you can get it. And I was first in the door. And yes, I got to watch the whole plane ride out, the whole world, swinging by and questioning why on God's green earth did I decide to come up here and do this. So that was my first funny story. My second funny, also kind of terrifying story is I had the same thought, like, I really want to be further back in the line, or what they call the chalk. I ended up about halfway. I was happy with that. I didn't have to stare out the door. The second guy out the door froze. And in true, military fashion, he was escorted out the door via boot. So after that, I didn't have any problem exiting out the door for fear of being exited via boot. So,
of course, that's how you're gonna escape or leave the plane if you don't want to leave the plane. That's funny. I don't think I would want to get a boot in the butt and then all of a sudden be free falling out of a plane. So we're kind of getting close to the end here. Any words of wisdom, any insight you want to impart on people? Anything you want to share?
take time for yourselves. It's important. Work is important, but you can only be really good at work if you're good at taking care of yourself and taking free time. You know, Even if it's not like a 2 week vacation on a beach, sometimes it's the couple hours here, the couple hours there, the weekends away, the different things like that that make all the difference because as we mentioned, mental health is a huge part of the world that is just now coming into the light. But it's been there the whole time and it's been necessary the whole time. So, don't forget to take time for yourself, and enjoy every day.
Great words of wisdom. I was going to depart here, but I've got a couple comments, and one of the comments is from Holly Foxworth. And for people that aren't aware, or I'm sure everyone is aware, but Holly is our content manager here, and she also runs our webinars. She's the host of the webinars. But when she started, her and her husband was a warden at a prison, and so they both lived at the prison. And I'll just show Holly's comment, and we can go from there. We'll never forget meeting Jordan behind the prison gates as he personally delivered and set up my computer nearly 12 years ago. What a wild and exhilarating ride. And I remain in awe of our growth under the direction of leaders like Jordan.
I'm just glad the body cavity search was optional. That's
Okay. So you showed up at a prison and installed, set up the computer, and walk us through that.
So, when we had a little bit more complicated IT setup, we used to hand deliver all the equipment because it needed some setup. We did VPN routers and some other kind of more advanced stuff. So I knew that she lived at a prison, but there really wasn't a previous description as to what I was looking for or what was going to happen. So I approached the prison, and just like anything else, they kind of did a light search around the car and then let me in. And I'm like clueless as to what I'm doing. And they had housing kind of off to the, I think it was off to the left of where we came in the gate. And, there was prisoners mowing the lawn and doing this and doing that. And it was an odd experience and not something I was really ready for, but it was still a lot of fun. Anytime we get to get out, especially as an IT person, you're usually stuck in a cave, fixing other people's problems. So I always enjoyed going and setting up. And although I was thrown a little bit off guard by, Holly had far more security than any other nurse that I had come into contact with before, it was still, once we got past the gate, it was all smooth sailing.
What an interesting story. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I know Holly, worked with her for 5 years, and I've met Todd before, and Todd is Holly's husband, and just the nicest guy. Does not fit the profile that you see in TV and movies about wardens.
Yeah, he is not the Shawshank Redemption warden for sure.
No, not at all. But what an odd story. Well, Michelle's got a comment. She said, Jordan is the best sense of humor as an executive. The ability to make everyone, no matter their level, feel comfortable and at ease is a gift.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, sense of humor is my secret weapon. I like to have a good time. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a good time within reason at work. So that's something I like to bring every day.
Agreed. Us as the marketing team, we have a separate chat on Teams that's just about sharing jokes and stupid memes and that kind of stuff. Someone named Dara Wheeler, no relation, I don't think, says, "Go Dodgers."
Yep. I am married to the chief marketing officer, so fortunate enough. But we are big Dodgers fans and looking forward to some Dodger baseball later.
Playoff baseball, there's nothing like it. Lacey came back and she said, "I appreciate the way Jordan leads his team within operations. I always feel empowered to grow or stretch where there's a need while knowing that he's completely familiar with my skill set. I will always remember the day he chose me to shift from handling cases to helping lead our help desk team.
Yep. Lacey is she's fantastic. Great to work with, very knowledgeable, and is absolutely an asset. I've enjoyed working with her. That's one of the cool things also about growing is, sometimes when you get to the executive level, you don't get to interact as much as you would like with the front lines of people. But because we were growing so quickly and we were shifting roles and doing all that, I did get to interact with those people, which I absolutely enjoyed, and miss doing it more and more. So it's always good to see how the real people that do the magic are working, because it's important for us to understand that so we can make the best decisions that we can.
Agreed. And Lacey, thank you for your comment. We are talking in the background, Lacey and I, to try to find a date where I can have her as a guest on here. So please stay tuned. She will be a future guest at some point, probably in December sometime. All right, Jordan. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you stopping by. And if you have anything else, let us know. If not, I'll end the show.
No, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I hope everyone that's listening and watching, you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you again in a couple weeks.